and she didn't drive. I guess they walked everywhere. She walked back to Wausau in that rain. And when she got home, she became ill. And my mother at the time was the oldest girl. She was 15. And she said that she helped nurse her, and then some of the other cousins around our grandmother's age, Pinky, I think, was there. And I met her. She's now deceased. She was the oldest living relative we had. I think she made something like 99, 98, something like that. But anyway, she was there, and Mama died. Our grandmother died. And they were on the funeral to bury our grandmother, and they were on their way back from the cemetery when he dropped dead. So there's Finley.
When who dropped dead?
Our grandfather did.
Oh.
Yeah, he dropped dead. Then there was Finley and May Francis. Finley was 2. May Francis was 5. Mama was 15. Julietta had to be 14, 13, because she was under nanny. And then the boys were older. And when that happened, the boys, Mama said, they scattered. They just went. And then other relatives, like Burley, Winston, they took the girls and worked them in their Silver Moon Cafe restaurant there in Shreveport. Our great-grandmother didn't want none of the children. She had a brood of folks herself. That was Laura.
Oh.
That was Laura.
Grant.
Right. She didn't want any of the children. She didn't take not one. So these uncles took the girls and the boys went and did their thing. Mama promised her mother on her deathbed that she would watch after Finley and May Francis. They were the babies. And then Juliette was a teenager herself. I think she was like 14 and a half. But they worked there. I know Mama said they all learned how to work at the Silver Moon Cafe. If you ever talk to anybody that's been in Shreveport, Louisiana, they know about the Silver Moon Cafe. That's us. That's how they got to make, and my mother has the recipe to do that barbecue sauce in her head, because she worked it. And Uncle R.C., Uncle Newton, if any of them were barbecuing, they got Mama to make that sauce. And that was the best sopping sauce you had. That's the only time I ever ate barbecue. Is when they cooked. When my mama didn't make the barbecue or her brothers didn't do the barbecue, I didn't go out in the street and eat nobody's barbecue. Because Mama always said they don't treat the meat right, or they didn't whatever they supposed to do to it to make it be right. So I personally never ventured outside of her barbecue or none of the brothers' barbecue. So that's how they got separated, and the boys just scattered. Mama tried to keep May Francis and Finley with her, but other people took him. My mother went to New Jersey from their grandmother's sister. Her name is Josephine and Carrie. They brought them as teenage girls. She went down there and got nanny. That's how I call my mom. My mom sent for May Francis. Juliette went with some of these cousins, like Horton and all them. They're in the Bakersfield, they're in the Oakland area this day. She came and moved up. She traveled with them because I asked her how she got to Northern California. And she told me that they were leaving, they were going to California. She got in the car and train, whatever way they got here. That's how she settled up in Northern California with some of these relatives of hers.
She said she came to take care of whose kids? One of her cousins.
I remember saying that too.
Yeah.
Right. Then they all came together. But that's how she got settled up here. My mother got into New Jersey and brought her mother with her. Eventually she went and sent for May Francis, and that's how May Francis and my mother stayed together. This photo was taken in 1958. 1958 was the first time that the boys went looking for their sisters. Your dad knew where Nanny was when he was in the Korean War. And the reason why I know that, my mother had letters that he wrote to her regular basis and sent her money.
How did he know?
He knew, I guess he found out, but he used to write her letters while we were living in Colorado. And I used to ask Nanny, who is this? And she said, that's my brother Peter. And he didn't have no children or wife at that time. And he was in the Army uniform, and he would send pictures of himself in the Army uniform, and he would tell her he was in Korea during that time. So 1958 is when these three got in a station wagon that was owned by Uncle R.C. He owned the station wagon. David and I talk about that a lot. That's when they had that real wood grain station wagon. So you know there wasn't no chintzy car. So they got in the car and they came to New Jersey looking for my mother and May Francis. And they found them. And that reunion brought tears.
They went all the way to New Jersey?
They came from California.
To go to New Jersey, looking for their baby. Looking for their
And I
sister.
remember my mother crying every day after they left. And they just stood there, these three stood there with Mama and their friends and just stood there and cried. They hadn't seen each other in 20 years. But they were looking for their sister, and they found her. So when they left, this picture was taken at Aunt Carrie's house. Aunt Carrie and Josephine were the two sisters of our great-grandmother. Her sisters went and got my mother and brought her to New Jersey.
And Carrie was blind, huh?
Yeah.
Mama used to talk about it.
She went blind. She just told me she lost her sight.
This is Aunt Carrie as our great-grandmother's sister.
One of her sisters.
One of her sisters.
They were, our great-grandmother had, oh God, she had the fields, the reasons, and the grass. And there were the fields. Because I always knew that it was Carrie Adams and Josephine. And we grew up with them. Kathy knows them. But this is in her house where they took this picture. And there's other pictures that Darren has that are much that you can show when they're dressed up and they're in there taking pictures in the house and whatnot. But this is how my mother first came back in physically contact with her. Right. Now you have to remember, Peter was off in the war place.
But they went looking for her.
They went looking for their sister. They found out where she was, and that's how they all got back.
And the only reason why they moved to go to New Jersey is because my daddy found out where she was.
Well, he always wrote my mother, and always sent her money and sent her some little trinkets and little gifts and things that soldiers pick up. But him and my mother are very close. My mother was close to all the boys, and she was the oldest girl. So they always came to our house.
How did they find out where?
I guess through Peter. Now, Uncle Finley was, I guess, 10, 12. By the time Uncle R.C. went down to Louisiana and got him and brought him to his house. He graduated from Manual Arts High School.
Right.
David told me he didn't know what Uncle Finley was to him. He said one day he just showed up. He was a little fella, and he had a playmate. And Uncle Finley graduated from our Uncle R.C.'s house with him. Okay? That's how Uncle Finley got to come up out of the South and stay in California. Right? So this picture was taken in Elizabeth, New Jersey.
In 1958.
1958. There's a picture of me, David. David was along with them on that trip. I was 8. David was 8. David and I were born the same year, the same month, just 9 days apart. Okay? So, they took this picture, and you can tell Uncle Garcia is really young on here. I mean, look at Uncle Bob. You don't see him like this. You see him upright and looking good.
What was up?
Oh, man.
I thought that was on